Hey, folks, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
And we are the Ingolds, and we're going to be your Catholic coaches for the day. I was just told by my wife that I have 7th grade teacher breath right now.
Mm-hmm. It's not a compliment.
A little coffee. 7th grade teacher breath. Anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about finding your purpose in God. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you're somebody that's looking for more purpose in your life, and you felt the struggles of doing that kind of untethered, just kind of following your own path along the way. Maybe you're a coach, or you're a parent, or you're walking with somebody else, maybe with students or confirmation candidates or something like that. And you're walking with somebody that's not even really open to really finding their purpose in God. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is really the consequences of when you try to find purpose without God, right? And the difference, the logical consequence there, but also the difference of when you insert Christ the cornerstone into that equation for finding purpose.
Yeah,
right? It makes a big difference.
I don't think most of you out there probably know like the significance of bringing God into the process, but maybe you don't know how. You know, and so that's another thing that we're going to be talking about today is like how to bring God into that process in a practical way. Because oftentimes we can hear people talk about this, go to God. Okay, what does that look like?
Yes.
Like, how do I specifically what do I bring to him? And also like, how do I pray about this? So we're going to give you a practical application of self-discovery and bringing that to the Lord. So I'm excited about this. Also, if you are somebody who is like, I definitely know God needs to be in this. Matt was saying this before, but maybe you're a coach. Maybe there's somebody else in your life that you're like, oh yeah, I'm noticing these indicators in them. They may be finding, whatever the consequences are that we're going to be talking about. So just consider that if you're a coach or somebody who helps others, this might be a good indicator, but also
good way of diagnosing, you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. And also a good way of dialoguing with them, because we're going to share some of our own examples.
Yeah. What I like, so we're going to go through part 1 is really just be talking about what are the consequences when we leave God out. I tried to do that. I'll share when I built my first coaching program, I'll share the consequences that I learned and I experienced doing that. And then we're going to like kind of juxtapose that with like, okay, now we intentionally bring God into the equation. What's different? Why is that worthwhile? And like Erin's saying, we always like to land the plane into something practical here on the Catholic Coaching Podcast. So we're going to be sharing something, an approach that you can apply, you can take yourself that really does help weave in God into finding your purpose. And so it's a very practical way to find your purpose in God. And, prayerful way, we're going to make it super practical for you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we are in the midst of taking people through our mission coach training. So we are in it right now. We are in this space. And so I'm excited.
And seeing the fruitfulness of it. So let's just jump into this. What happens when we leave God out of the purpose equation? Okay. So when we first started coaching, or we were just getting into it before we even had Metanoia Catholic officially established, one of the first things I wanted to do as a veteran was create this program. I called it Warriors Redemption. That was all about helping veterans or people in the line of duty that had experienced the darker side of their office to kind of rewrite their story, right? And find even some purpose amidst the pain that they'd experienced. And I remember going through this, and part of the program was to just help people to take custody of their mind, do some mindset work. I intentionally wanted to keep it very secular because like back in those days, I was like, I don't want to limit my audience. That was my approach. And
it was against my good judgment. I kept telling him.
I needed to find my own way here. Right. So, but yes, not listening to my wife and being like, no, there's a way. I know there's a way that I can do this, and I don't necessarily have to bring God intentionally in. God's just going to have to find a way. God will bring it to completion or whatever. All right. And what ended up happening as I taught these guys how to take custody of their mind, how to take responsibility for the stories that they were telling and how they can rewrite their own story, kind of share a new narrative, it got to this point where it was like, okay, what's the narrative you want to choose? What's the goal you want to pursue? What is the purpose that you want to name for yourself? And guys, I had no idea how to help them answer that question, because that's a question of what is good for me? And there's no way of really answering that question of like, what's good for you without appealing to some authority outside of you to help you with it.
Yeah.
or
the authority who created you and created your heart and created your mission. And the funny thing is with this story is you did know how to answer that, but you intentionally chose not to go there. And the reason why I'm making this point is because I think there are Catholics who do that, who like from a good intention, I want to be open to everybody. I want to, be inclusive to everybody. And also I don't know, maybe I feel a little bit ashamed. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing and asking him what that, you're right. So there's probably other things there, but intentionally blocking that connection to the one who created you and gave you your purpose.
Yeah. And so what I found was like, there was this big authority vacuum that was left when you leave God out of the equation and you're asking this question, like, what's my purpose? What is good? What's my greatest good? Right? Because your greatest good is fulfilling your purpose, right? And purpose is less of an end in of itself also is something I learned.
Yes.
But it's in support of really belonging. Everybody wants to know that they have a place, that they belong. And the purpose, which like defining purpose is like the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists, right? It's in service to really that sense of belonging, which everybody wants. I want to be part of something greater than myself. You hear that language all the time. Well, the greater than yourself is God, right? But when we remove God, the cornerstone, Christ, the cornerstone from the equation, something has to fill that authority vacuum. And so what I found, there's two ways that people go.
I think there's more than that, but I think these are the most common.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say they fall into this. The first is they go to, okay, well, I'm just going to self-reference. Like I'm going to step into that vacuum and I am going to create and author my own purpose. And what happens here is we become the inventor of a purpose.
You see this a lot in the personal, like, what's it called?
Personal development world. And just
yes, personal development, secular personal development world. And it's very, it's overwhelming because if you are the author, now it's all on you, and some people like that. Control enthusiasts like that. But eventually what happens is like there's a despair that comes from it. So you get high, and then you hit a point and then you fall back and you're just like, I don't know. What is the meaning of life? Like when it's all on you, it's extremely overwhelming.
Well, it's demanding something that you're not really even capable of doing.
Yeah.
Right. Of yourself.
Yeah. So it's also like not aligned with reality.
Yes. It's not humble. It's a trajectory for despair. So when you hit that breaking point, and we see people do this, and ultimately this can go the self-referencing route. I'm going to reinvent myself, which often it goes that way. That word invention, like I am the inventor, right? That's what happens when we appeal to ourselves as the author of what is good and what our purpose is. We turn ourselves into the inventor. We turn ourselves into the creator. We turn ourselves into our own gods here. And that's exhausting because we're not. Like it's just, like you said, it's not humble. It's not aligned with reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a natural trajectory to go that way. And I remember even like when we first got into coaching, and a lot of our secular formation was just like, you just got to go after that big, hairy, audacious goal, right?
Yeah,
the bag.
I always had.
You did always resist that.
Such an internal resistance to that.
Yeah. What was that about?
It's probably because it was like too much pressure. I don't know. I was like very aware of my insecurities and very aware of like, maybe it was like internal rebellion a little bit. Like, don't tell me how to do this. Maybe there was like pride there, but also I think it was just, I knew, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what the resistance was. It could have just been my discernment radar going off. I don't know.
I bet it could be like, so
you know what it was? What? It felt extreme.
It felt extreme.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe it's my phlegmatic side. I'm like, I don't think you make like big leaps and bounds, like by doing extreme. Maybe it's just like one step at a time. That's the way I like to. Well,
this was something I noticed in myself. Is not only when I started to be like, oh, it's got to be a big, hairy, audacious goal that we're pursuing. I started to put that expectation on other people as well. It's like, okay, if you're not pursuing the big, hairy, audacious goal, then you're just lacking in ambition, right? And there's
which is true.
Well, I remember
I definitely felt that pressure, and I'm like, you are not lying.
I remember putting this on my mom, where it's just like, hey, what is it that you desire? Like, why don't you start like this? And you can be a coach for like women that are going through carnivore. And it was just like, my mom was just like, I just want to take care of my grandkids and explore and like experience my family. And like, I remember having this thought, like, it's not big enough. Right. And this is where I was even falling into that attitude of like, no, like you gotta go. It's not enough. You have to,
go big or go home.
Yeah. And this is even starting to get into like the other area, right? Where instead of going inwards to ourselves, the other way is we go outward to, when we leave God out, we go outward to the world and we say, okay, you've got the answer. What should I be doing? Right. And here there's like a lot of powerlessness that comes in.
Yeah.
Right. It's
well, I think it's also the safe,
abdicated any responsibility.
It's a safe way. And then when you don't get that answer, it's their fault. So you don't have to take any responsibility to, you know?
Well, it feels very, even that, like the word victimy kind of like comes into play there.
There's a name for this. So if there's kids, maybe cover their ears, but it's called an asshole.
An asshole. What does that mean? Define your terms.
Somebody who just asks people and then they don't take their advice and then they go on to the next person and then they ask that person and then they're like, what should I do? And then they go to the next person and they don't take anybody's advice. And here's the thing, like if you are finding yourself in that space, like there is no piece of advice that can actually help you. Like because you're not going to the author. You're not going to the one who can give it to you. Other people, they're just giving you their opinion. All right. And they have the right to do that, especially if you're asking them.
Yeah. So you start going to other people and it can feel very powerless, very reactive, like you're saying, but it can also feel like it's just very unstable. Right. Because suddenly now you put your trust in like, I got this job or I got this office now that I'm a part of, or I've got this team that I'm a part of. Well, these things, they don't last. Right. And so when we start to put our purpose in people or jobs or roles or teams or whatever it is that we want to put or even like big missions, right? As soon as that is no longer there, people can be left, like you can be left very untethered. And it just feels very unstable. Yeah. I saw a lot of my Marines dealing with this.
Well, yeah.
When they left the Marine Corps.
It's a common thing that we see. So like if a client comes to me and they're struggling with feeling stuck, asking a ton of people for advice and not taking any of the advice, they are feeling aimless. They are feeling all of these other things. I know what to do with them. I could work on their mind. And yes, I probably will along the line, you know, but I know where to go, like what path to go down. And it's really to ask them some of the questions that help them find their purpose and their mission. So I know like these are indicators of people who are lacking this. And I would say most people in the world are actually lacking this because even though you and I feel like I have a little bit firmer of a grasp of what my purpose statement is, like what I am here to do, it's still an adventure. It's still kind of like, well, we're going here, there, everywhere. Like, and there's
it's still unfolding,
fine tuning. Yes, it's still unfolding, even though I do believe that the Lord put me here to do a particular thing, to exist for a particular purpose. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of my way of diagnosing it from a coaching standpoint. If people come in, I don't know what God wants me to do. And like, there is no action either. That's another piece. But it's just like the constant discernment process. There's no decisions.
So it's not like we have to go to the opposite extreme of like, okay, so it's like, okay, we just said that people go to self-referencing, right? And very relativistic in their pursuit of purpose. It's not like the answer is never consult yourself, never consult your desires, never consult what you want, right? That goes to like a complete abdication of just even your own experience or dismissive of your own experience. And God can communicate to us his purpose through that experience.
I've seen people do that too. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's just too extreme. It's like there's this constant suspicion of self. And once again, I'm going back to I reject most things that are extremes. So like, and I know that's how we work. I know there's a pendulum, and it's like when we stop doing one thing, it's like, well, I'm never going to do that thing ever again. And it's like, there is a place and a time for certain aspects. So yes, you can consult yourself, certainly consult your reason, you know, consult your past experience, consult what you are passionate about, because that is the thing that you are going to remain motivated to do. And like, you know, when we kind of set aside our intrinsic motivations, we're setting aside a big data point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, I've seen people toss that out. I've seen Catholics toss that out, like their own experience, their own story, their own reason. They toss that out. I don't know what God wants me to do.
Well, and when you do that, you abandon any sort of self-determinism, right? And that's where John Paul II, this is like his term, self-determination. And it's not it's not carte blanche. I get to self-determine every aspect of my life, right? You can take this to extreme and be like, I'm a man, now I want to be a woman. But like, there are certain decisions that are within our authority that we can make that start to determine how we're going to develop, how we're going to grow, like what opportunities are going to avail themselves to us, and what doors do we want to, what paths do we want to commit to? So like, I can self-determine within my authority without harming anybody else that I want to be a doctor, right? And so I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to pursue this path, right? And it's going to open up all these other doors and close other doors because I've made that decision. And that's what we're meant to do. Now, so like I present that as like, yeah, there's going to be some self-referencing in the sense of, okay, like I'm referencing some desire that I have, or at least acknowledging some desire that I want to be a doctor, right? Or I want to work in the medical profession, something like that. And so I can start to pursue that. But like, I'm doing it as a student of my experience, and I'm not, and I'm avoiding that extreme of like, there's no relationship with God or anything like that. And that's informing this path. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I have two things to say to that, because I think a major shift that happened for me, because I certainly fell into the camp of being like totally abdicating my own experience, being like, I should do this. I feel obligated to do this, so I should. And that was my only reason of doing that particular thing. But like, it was draining the ever living life out of me. And I just was not growing as a person. I was like a terrible person. And then there is like, so I see this a lot in the Catholic space. It goes abdicate my own experience, my own reason, and then put it all on God.
Okay.
So this kind of is that second one where it's like put it all on others, but this particular person is God. And in a way, abdicating your free will over to him. And what's going to happen is he's going to be like, yes, thank you for your will. But also like, no, we're not doing this because you're afraid to make this decision. We're doing this like, I want to collaborate with you on this. Yeah. And that was a big shift for me. That word collaboration was big.
Yeah. The underlying premise, I think, that drives somebody to just be like, I'm just going to pray into my purpose, right? Is they're denying that Christ is actually at work in them. The Holy Spirit has actually made their home in them. And there's actually an experience, there's a communication, there's a relationship that's actually informing and the origin of their desires that they're experiencing. And there's certain movements that they can actually pay attention to. I remember, like, again, extreme example of this. I remember counseling somebody that was, or spiritual direction, where this person was like, I want this, so it can't be from God. That was the level of suspicion that they had of their own experience, their own heart, their own desires. If I want it, it can't be from God.
It's such an extreme statement, though.
Yes.
You know, and that's where it's like, can't? Really?
Well, it denies a relationship.
Yeah.
All of these things, like the self-referencing, leave God out. The I'm just going to prepare, I'm just going to pray, and it's all about God. I leave myself out.
And then I blame God when it doesn't work out, you know?
Yeah. Or like,
guys, I've been there too. I get it. And there is a distinction, like you were saying, there's a disposition. There's a difference of disposition. Now, there is somebody who is like, Lord, I want these things. And that's part of the prayer. And then you put that your will in his hands, which he does want us to do that, right? But he wants us to make that first offer, that offertory, right? To be like, Lord, I do want this. and your will be done. Lord, I do want this, and your will be done. Lord, and this is exercise 3 in our journal. Like,
right. It's much more of a dialogue.
Lord, I desire this, and your will be done. And then to remain open. And that's the scary part. I think one of the reasons why I think, or I could just speak for myself, the reason why I kept abdicating things over to God, because I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to offer it to the Lord, or like what to offer to him. But also, I was afraid. I mean, I was like, what if it doesn't work out? Like, what if I get disappointed? What if he doesn't show up? There was a lot of fear, and it was a lot easier just to like pass it off to the Lord and not have to do the work and not have to be vulnerable.
But all of those things that you just brought up are such beautiful things to bring into prayer. Like, okay, so like I go to do this exercise of like letting go and surrendering my desires, and all of a sudden I start to become afraid, and I start to have all these questions. Like, really, what's happening is in this process, it's exposing where your heart really is and your relationship with God really is.
Yeah,
it's exposing maybe there's a lack of trust, or there's something that needs to be healed, or there's this fear that God isn't really a good father, right? All of that stuff is like it's bringing you. It's an invitation that God allows to happen. He allows this stuff to come up. It's not indicating that there's something broken in you. It's indicating that there's an invitation, right? To enter into a deeper relationship that's there. And then there's a revelation of purpose that happens with that.
Can I share I know I've shared this in the podcast before, so I am sorry if you're hearing it again, but it's just nice to revisit myself, because I remember I'm like thinking back to my own shifts in this space, you know. I was on both ends of the spectrum, self-referencing
and going to everybody else, advocating
and it's
to God.
still kind of like bouncing, like it's not so extreme anymore, but still like boing, 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 you know, like bouncing back and forth. And really the only thing that is helping with that is a constant, steady dialogue with the Lord. But I remember we were going through a secular training. It wasn't even training. It was going through like being participants of a coaching program. And there was this one exercise where it was like, go into like, you're the writer, like you are the writer of your own story. It was like, you are the screenplay writer of your own movie. And I was like, well, I'm not really. Like God, like he created me for a purpose. Like he's the writer, right? And I do believe that. And I still believe that. And so I made the exercise into a prayer. So I don't know if you could, maybe the director or the lead. I was the lead in the movie. And I remember like in the visual, like the Lord really took me on this imaginative prayer journey, and he was sitting in the writer's room, like writing the script for my life. And I remember being like, there's like a couple of things I would like love to just like, I don't know, say and like plant like some seeds I would like to plant. Maybe
some recommendations.
All my influencer strengths are like coming out. I'm like, I just wonder if I could like sway it a little bit, or I don't know, like, and knocking on the door. And this is all prayer, right? Knocking on the door, and he's like, come in. And he's writing the story. And I just was like, hey, I have some ideas. I don't know if like now's the time to share with them or share them with you, or if I should ever share them with you. And his response was like, please. Yes, please. I was waiting for you to come in and just give me your heart. Like, give me your ideas. Give me, and then we'll work together to work them in. And it shifted the whole thing. Partially, it's like whose role is what, you know, and then also that collaboration, that piece where it wasn't like me against you, or me abdicating to you, or like throwing stuff at you and then running away because I'm like afraid of the response. It was a conversation. It was a dialogue, and it was a collaborative dialogue. So I offer that to you. If you're an imaginative person like me, maybe just use that as a prayer and see like where the Lord takes it, what ideas come up, what passions, what desires come up. And really just doing that from a vulnerable, non-suspicious place. Now, at this point of my life, I have just picked up journaling probably a couple months before, but I was journaling every single day. So I was like actively speaking to the Lord.
You were very in touch with even the word that was like being spoken to you, and the word that was kind of bubbling up in you. That's why we love journaling, you guys, so much. And that's why we created our own Metanoia journal. And it's all about capturing kind of these words that are inside of us and helping you become a student of your interior life. Go check that out over on our website, CatholicCoaching.com. You can just get that journal, order yourself a copy, and just start to become a student of what's going on in your interior life. A lot of those words are words that God has already set in motion, and it's the very foundation of the dialogue that he's inviting you into that's going to start to reveal more clarity of purpose. Okay. So when we start, thank you for sharing that story, Erin.
You're welcome.
I love that story. I never get bored hearing it. All right. It speaks to me in a new way every time I hear it.
I never get bored telling it.
So finding your purpose in God, I think it's also like finding your purpose in God, through God, with God, and in God. Like I think of those words in the Mass, through him, with him, and in him. There's such unity that's taking place there. And when you bring God back into the equation, when you bring Christ the cornerstone back into the conversation and the structure of building your purpose and understanding and your purpose and discovering your purpose, we move from inventing purpose, right? Or having it imposed on us by somebody else, or having it imposed by the world. We call that living in the shadow of the should, right? To something that is you're discovering it at this point.
I love it. It's like puzzle pieces.
Well,
if you like puzzles, only if you like puzzles, can we use that analogy?
Yeah.
Is that analogy or metaphor?
I think that works. I don't know. Metaphor, analogy. Anyways,
you guys know what I mean.
You got that. But like when you're really finding your purpose in God, okay, which means in relationship with God. Suddenly now you don't have all the overwhelm and the pressure of being the inventor. You're not isolating and creating this world where in order to get that sense of belonging, people have to belong to your plan rather than you belonging to a greater plan that's beyond even your own, ability to conceive. It gets us away from, looking to other authority figures that don't have the authority to speak purpose over our lives, right?
Yeah,
and it puts it back, like it gets you into right relationship with God, where you're not leaving yourself out of the relationship or just putting it all on God's shoulders and being like, just tell me, right?
Yeah.
So that I can know it and execute it, and we don't really have to get close, but just tell me, right? Just give me the answer.
Yeah, I think it's easier. It's certainly easier. I think because when you bring him into it, it's like you from my own experience, it's just like you remove any barriers to that collaborative, fruitful exchange that happens. That's another thing. It's fruitful. It creates good fruit. I remember we were discerning even our purpose for metanoia, and I was praying about it. Lord, can you just like show me what we are and what we do? And he brought to mind our APEST. Both Matt and I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a really great test called APEST. It's based off of the Ephesians 4 or 5 fold gift. Some people call it gifting. I like to call it offices or roles. They're ministerial roles.
Apostle, prophet, evangelist, shepherd, or teacher. Right?
Yes. And I was reminded in prayer, like the Lord kind of gave me a download and was just like, you and Matt are the same. APEST. All right.
Yeah,
so we're
apostolic teachers. Yeah.
We are both apostolic teachers. And we are not the same in strengths. We are not the same in temperaments. Like it's the only thing that we are aligned, like the same as. And that spoke to me. And it was just like the Lord speaking purpose over metanoia. He's like, and there's a reason for that. It's like, this is actually what we want metanoia to be. So anyway, through prayer and discovery and revisiting, like bringing the Lord into that, but like revisiting, oh my gosh, this is what we are. We are a schoolhouse for coaches. We're a formational house for coaches. And I would not have come to that conclusion, like outside of the prayer. Like I would have gone to best practices. I would have gone to marketing people who are secular, and it would have maybe taken years years and years and years.
It just gave
decades.
laser focus. It's like
Yes.
point. It's like a finger that just said right here, focus on this right here.
So it's clarity. It's easier. It's just easier that way. Just go to him. It's so much easier.
Yeah. It removes a lot of the overwhelm here too. Like it's just, especially when purpose isn't something that you find it and then you're done. And it's like, now I got it and everything's great because I know my purpose. It's like, no, it's like, when you're doing it with God and it's coming through a relationship with God, and the relationship with God really is like the
goal.
Great reason for being. Our ultimate purpose, our ultimate ends is like, we know this from our catechism here as well. Like, but still, like, there's a sense of belonging in the body of Christ that is being revealed over time. It took the overwhelm away from me because it gave me permission to just like allow it to just unfold, like my sense of purpose to be something that is unfolding and it's revealing over time, and allow my relationship with God to be unfolding and revealing over time as I heal, or as I grow personally, or as I come to know him more through prayer and spiritual reading and scripture and good spiritual direction and good counsel and experience in my marriage and as a parent. Like it's allowing myself to be a pilgrim on the journey, which is just so ordered and it's so honest and humble. And it's just, when I say humble, it's in touch with the reality of what is.
And when we can receive it with open hands, open hearts, there's a fulfillment that comes from that. So there's like a tremendous amount of fulfillment, like more than anything out there. Guys, I remember early in my conversion, I went to public school my whole life. So I had a bunch of public school friends. Still love you guys if you're listening. But I remember friends of mine didn't go to church, no faith at all. And they were like, well, why are you, like, I wasn't drinking anymore. Like, just stuff I had given up.
You got back from college,
Yeah.
Steubenville, first year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were like, kind of like pressuring me, like, to give them an answer. And I didn't have an answer, but all I did was I just thought about my own experience. And I was just like, okay, look, the best way I can describe it is I was empty before and now I feel full. Okay. And like, he is the one who changed that. And I know that for certain. So take that however you want. But in the same sense, when you receive your purpose from the Lord, it is so much more fulfilling. You stop being busy. It's just like, you're like, you can just breathe a little bit later. But also there's a contentment, a level of contentment, that feeling of being full.
Yeah. You're able to rest, right? Because it's something, I think some of that rest comes with a confidence that really is a gift of faith. That's like, okay, for me, it's more of a mindset of like, the Lord, I know he's communicating with me constantly, and he's communicating with me everything that I need to know right now. Right. And if it's God is communicating, he's revealing purpose to me. That means that I don't have to be on the treadmill of just frenetic activity as if it's something where I can control how fast it unfolds. Like, there's a responsibility when the Lord opens doors and invites me to say yes to certain things, to respond to that. And those things can start to reveal and unfold that purpose. But I've also kind of like learned a little bit more of a docility and just recognizing that those moments aren't every second, right? Sometimes it's just pause, and it's actually, but also those moments aren't necessarily something that's so extreme where it's like, oh, it's going to be a new business opportunity. It's like just being present to you, or present to Avila, our daughter, like right here in our home, just being present to home life, and just thinking about, even reflecting more on the 30 years of the hidden life of Christ. Right? Where it's just so much was taking place, and there was such great formation and understanding and pondering that was happening in that small home in Nazareth. That was a preparation for, a big 3-year public ministry for him. It's just something a lot more exciting here too, I think. Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting and it's fruitful. Exciting in that it's an adventure that you can't really even plan. So if that is appealing to you, think about it that way. I just notice all of our temperaments kind of being spoken to through these, like,
different motivations of the temperaments. I like exciting things. I don't like over planning things. Like, give me an adventure any day. But also that fruitfulness. I love, like, or Peter, Lord, we've labored all night, and he just like, go over on the other side, and and then like they get so many fish, and it's kind of like fruitfulness and easy go hand in hand together. It's like, why wouldn't you choose that? Why wouldn't you choose that way? And the fruitfulness could be things that you see. It could be the fruitfulness within too. It could be like actually receiving the fruits of the Holy Spirit for you, and or growth or lessons. So be mindful of, like, when the Lord will always bring fruit, and when he's around, it will always be fruitful. But like, we don't know what the fruit is going to be. So you can always ask him.
So easier, less overwhelming, exciting. It's an adventure, greater fruits, like all the reasons why finding your purpose in God is the way to go with it. I love just the thing that puts it all together is it moves you from inventor to discoverer. And that's a different type of labor now. It's like, there's something to me that I get jazzed about getting to discover something. Okay. So Aaron, for people that are listening here, if we want it, let's land the plane here. What's a practical way of starting to move from, the self-referencing or the abdicating of our responsibility or leaving God out of the equation or consulting, people that don't have the authority to tell us what our purpose is in the world and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, what is a way to really practically start to pursue your purpose in God?
So we kind of deconstructed this backwards. It's like we took a purpose statement, which I can give you guys an example of that. And then kind of backward, like finding the things to pray with through that purpose statement. Okay. So a purpose statement is something that is like, I exist to verb, who and what, so that, and then the ultimate impact or value. So I exist to teach coaches, Catholic coaches, how to be a Catholic coach so that they can make their impact in the world. Okay. That's my...
Yeah. It's like, I, for example, I love to help people discover their unique design, right? So that they can become all who God created them to be.
Awesome. So we have a couple of our purpose statements. They're still unfolding. We're still refining them. We're still figuring them out.
And they're not necessarily very practical, like right now. Like they're abstract. And so it's just like, the first question that pops in my head is like,
what do I do?
What do I do? Like, what does that look like in action? I think that's where we start to get from a purpose statement to a mission statement.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to do that right now, though.
Nope. We're not going to do that right now. We are going to break down a purpose statement because it's just fun. And that's enough of a reason. It's a good
sanguine reason. Okay.
That's enough of a reason.
All right. So where do we go from here, babe?
Okay. So the first question is, what do you love to do? So let's find that action verb. It could be like, do you like helping people? Do you like healing people? Do you like executing? Do you like motivating others? Do you like teaching others?
Beautiful.
Do you like coaching others, right?
Yep. Praying with other people. Yep.
Yes. Training. All right. So there's some type of verb. So go ahead and just ask yourself, what do I love to do?
Yeah.
Like, if I could just do this thing for the rest of my life and I'd be happy, what would that be? And it might be one of those that I just gave you.
Yeah. And a way of kind of like getting at this, which we actually get into in our mission formula with our Ignite programs, like, what are your interests? What are the passion activities that really get you excited? What are some of your talents even that you have? And so those things, your interests, your passion activities, and your talents are also, elements of this equation, right? That can help you to answer that question. What is the thing that you love to do?
Yes.
Right? Above all others.
I mean, guys, this is what we do in our academy. So if you're like, I really want other people to take me through this, come and join us.
Yes.
All right. So what do you love to do? And then who do you want to help? Okay, I'll give you one question. Who do you feel that God keeps putting in your path? Like, who are the people who continue to ask you for help, ask you for advice on? That's actually how I uncovered that I really wanted to work with Catholic coaches. At that point, I only knew like 5, and all 5 of them were coming to me and asking me questions on how to coach or how to like make their coaching better or how to make it Catholic. So who do you want to help? Who do you feel God keeps putting on your heart, in your path? What do you want to do for them? I love this question. What types of challenges excite you more than drain you? So like little problems you like to fix or needs you like to fill, but like what are those challenges that excite you to fix, to solve, or to fill more than drain you? Because that's a really big piece here. All right. We don't want things that are continually draining us.
Even if you're good at them.
Even if more so if you're good at them, because then you have to say no to it. Because, and I do think that there might be some mindset too around that. You can kind of play with that and be like, okay, can we shift some mindset around that?
Yep.
But for the most part, that's a really key indicator. What drains you? What gives you energy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then finally, what's the impact?
What's the impact?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the impact that you want to make on the world? So this starts to get into the why behind it. And so we had a little bit of the who being exposed with the who do you want to serve, the what being exposed with some of the actions that you really love doing, but also the people that you really love helping, the needs you really love to fill. But you're bringing in just your talents and your passion activities and your interests into this thing. Like, notice that like your purpose statement, it's inviting all of you, all the best parts of you that you love and you love to be. Like the fullness of your identity is being revealed through this, and it just kind of overflows into this like impact that you make on the world.
Well, it allows you to be a sincere gift of self, like in John Paul II's language.
Yes.
But really that last one is like the impact that you want to make for them. That's the ultimate, that's the end of that sentence.
Yes.
So at the end of this, we want you to write this down. Pause, listen, you can stop watching it or pause the actual podcast, but write down this sentence almost like it's a Mad Libs game. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know, right? But I exist to verb, and we want to put that verb of like passion, like what is the thing that you love to do? And then who and what, who do you want to serve? What do you want to do for them? So that, and then the ultimate purpose or value that you want to give to them.
We walk you through the step-by-step in our Ignite program. Okay. We offer it occasionally, but we also have mission coaches that are in training right now on how to actually bring people through that. And so once they're fully trained, they're going to be out here on the streets and just walking people through this whole process, because it's tough to just pause a podcast and do this kind of work, right? But walking with somebody else that can be a guide throughout this process. We're not meant to discover this by ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And kind of reflect back a little bit of the things that we're sharing. And maybe there's a little bit of, self-criticism or stuff like that comes up. But like, that's going to be a great way to go forward here. Okay. So say we get our purpose statement set, Erin.
Yep.
What do we do next? How do we really pursue our purpose with God?
So you pray with it. So you bring that purpose statement to him, you could do it in your journal. Like we were saying, like you buy one of our journals. If you already have our journal, you can write that in exercise 3. Like you could just be like, Lord, here's my purpose statement. I exist to blah, whatever. And then just do the rest of the journal. You could use that visual that I gave you earlier, where it's like God is in the writing room and you could come in and be like, hey, what do you think about this purpose statement? Another visual, like type of guided prayer imagery, you could bring it up like offertory at Mass, like actually offering it to the Lord and seeing the transformation. Like, see, he receives it, and then there's a transformation that happens.
Yeah, I love even getting into, and St. Francis de Sales gets into this when he talks about the morning prayer in his introduction to the devout life. He says, actually, like, reflect on the day's tasks that you have ahead of you. But I like being able to bring the purpose statement into it and say, like, okay, with what I have ahead of me today, how can I bring more of this purpose into this? So if there's problems that you love to solve, how can I be more open to people that have those problems, or find or seek those people that have those problems, so I can live into my purpose a little bit more? How can I bring some more of my talents into this, what I have today? Or how can I engage a little bit more of my interests, or bring some of my passion that share and inspire other people? That has been a huge game changer for me. And sometimes, like, when I ask this question, the way the Lord responds is like, hey, can you get to daily mass?
Yeah.
That was even like what happened this morning.
Gift of self.
Yeah. It's
there
like,
you go.
Do you want to go to mass? Like, just meet me at mass. It can be something that's super simple, and just going to mass and receiving Holy Communion can be living into your purpose.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good. He's like, you need this sustenance.
Yeah. But the beautiful part with this is, like, eventually this prayer, it just starts to lead. It starts to inform some of the actions that you do. And in those actions, we actually start to have a greater clarity of purpose, because we're creating with God, right? We're responding to his will. We're acting within his will. And there's a continued revelation that's happening by being in his will, because there's grace that's in his will. And grace is a participation in the very life of God. So you're getting more of that. And there comes greater clarity as you just kind of continue to pursue there.
Yeah. Yep. Somebody, I remember hearing that Father Mike Schmitz quoting Matt Fradd, who I think was also quoting a priest on this, and it's stuck in my mind. And so it's like super helpful. It said, when discernment became popular, I'm totally going to butcher this. When discernment became popular, what was it, like nobody
people stopped making decisions?
Yes, not one more decision was made or something. So people can get stuck in this discernment process. So I would say, I'm going to add one more thing, like kind of based off of what you were saying, like, how can I live into my purpose statement today? Like, what action can you take to actually start to incarnate this purpose statement?
Yeah.
And so I would just say, act on it, start to act on it, and then let the Lord help direct you even in and through that action, or after upon reflection.
Yeah. So that's it, folks. Like, finding your purpose in God, really a very practical way of doing it is starting with that purpose statement. Again, we have our Ignite program that is a great program for practically walking through all of those different elements: your interests, your passion activities, your talents, the problems you solve, the needs you fulfill, all that stuff that can go into creating that purpose statement. But then there's a practical way. Once you have that, you can continue to present that to the Lord, invite him to refine it, invite him to inform how he's inviting you to live into that in practical ways, and continue to reveal and refine and unfold that purpose to you. So cool. Much more exciting than being the inventor of your own purpose.
Oh my gosh.
Boo.
So much easier too. All right, guys. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Peace. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.